Hi, are you a new programmer or an entry level programmer and you are struggling to raise your confidence in programming? In this video, I'm going to show you a technique that I think will help you tremendously improve or increase your confidence level so that you can approach any problem or any task you find with more confidence. In my experience teaching new software engineers or new programmers, I realized that most oftentimes people already know how to solve the problem. At least they can reason out the algorithm, the step by step in their mind. But then they would have a challenge translating into code, just because being a software engineer just brings its own fear, right? Being able to write a code, you have to be already sophisticated. But in reality, you already know how to code. You already are applying algorithms, problem solving skills in your day to day, right? So let's look at an example. Assuming I tell you to find the maximum number in a collection, how would you go about solving it? I mean, just literally, right? Some engineers will go, some software programmers or programmers will go directly into writing the syntax. But I would say, don't worry about the syntax at the beginning. Don't worry about, the Java or Python or JavaScript syntax. Just worry about how you would reason out the problem and how you would solve it. And you already possess that skill on a day-to-day. So imagine I put a basket of oranges before you, right? And I ask you to pick up the maximum, the biggest one. In this case, right, you're gonna wanna look through all the items in the collection, in the basket, all the oranges. So you're gonna pick one, and you're gonna assume that the one you pick is the maximum. So I'm gonna assume, right? Let's say I assume that maximum equals to the first in the collection, right? You assume that, and then what you're gonna do next is you're gonna loop through each of the collection, right? And you're gonna pick another one and say, well, does the one that I already have as the max, is it still bigger than the new one that I picked up, or the new one that I picked up is bigger? So if the new one that I picked up is bigger, then I'm going to swap, right? I'm going to take that one and make it a maximum, right? So I'm going to do that for every of the elements. And when I'm done looking through all the items in the basket, and then I can confidently say that the one that I have on my hand is the maximum. So how would I apply, right? Just writing the pseudocode. So I'm going to say, well, max is first in the collection. So I'll say for each number, right, or let's say element, let's say in basket, right? Now say if the element is greater, right, than the max, then what do? I'm gonna say max equals to what? The element, right? That is it in code. That is it, the pseudocode. So now, if you come and tell me that you can solve this problem like this, then you're already a programmer, a software engineer in my mind, right? I mean, not really a software engineer, but you're already a programmer, okay? Because ability to do this is very essential in programming. And if you're already doing this, be confident and continue to hone on that skill, right? And when it comes to the syntax, so assuming you're working in JavaScript, right, and you don't know how an array is represented, you can always Google that, right? You can always Google and say, how do you represent a collection, right? You can say, how do I represent, and I mean, there are multiple ways, but in this case, assuming, right, you come up with an array, right? There's an array. You can pretty much represent an array like, let's say, so this is how you declare a variable. So let's say let array equals to, I'm gonna say one, any kind of number, right? So you want to write a function, right? You also learn that you can write a function to say, well, determine maximum. Let's say, right, I give it a nums array. So what I would do is for, right? Now, you don't know how to loop in JavaScript? Well, just look it up. Well, let's look at loops and iteration. Yeah. So you can pretty much go through how, you can actually declare a loop in JavaScript, and there are different options here. I won't go into all the details, right? But the one that I want is actually this one. Okay. So I'm going to do for variable of object, and then I'll come back here, say, right, for num in nums, right? If num is greater than the max, then what do I want to do? I want to say max equals to num, and then I'll return max. Okay. So now you can go ahead and just call this determine maximum that I declared here, pass in the array, this array, and I'm going to console.log the output. Okay, and then when I run this, okay, I need to comment this one out. So when I run this, oh, for num off, right? It's the one that I want. Okay, this one, num off. Okay, and I get 7. So pretty much it loops through, picks the first one is 1, sets the first one as maximum, then 1 as maximum, then it finds 5, it's going to set 5 as maximum, and it's going to find 2, and then 5 is still going to be maximum, 4, 5 is maximum, then 7 is going to say 7 is bigger than 5, so it makes 7 the maximum. So if you can at least come up with these, forget about trying to write it in code, forget about the syntax, just try to write out how you will solve the problem if you approach it in real life, right? And then just translate that in code. You can always Google on actual syntax if you Java or JavaScript or Python, it doesn't matter. And as you continue to do this, you realize that your confidence in approaching problems is going to increase drastically. Okay, because essentially as software programmers or engineers, what we do is solve problems, right? Now, of course, you can improve on this algorithm because, for example, what happens if the array is empty, right? So these are some of the other things you put into Torch, but about if array is empty, then return something else, or return negative or something, right? There are other things you can, other factors in real life that you can also implement in your code. But starting this way already shows that you are a programmer. So I would encourage you to try this approach as you solve new problems, and let me know if this technique helps you. Feel free to put comments in this video, and also if you benefit from this video. Feel free to subscribe for more content.